this, or just give it to Stacy?
Give it to her.
Somebody gave it to me, I put it in here.
Can we send you an email, remind you to give it to her tomorrow?
Wait, do one more check. While I'm standing here. No,
Thank you for sending that.
Welcome. Oh.
I'm doing all right.
Sure am. How about y'all?
Thank you.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
How's the bookstore doing?
Doing pretty good. Holding its own right now.
Will you be the boss? No,
This
do
is a
it,
bigger
do it,
place.
do it,
The place is
leave.
kind of full now.
Yeah, we do it, yeah.
Yeah, it
Put
was
the part
full
behind.
when we
There you go.
purchased it.
What are you doing?
We're already rolling live, so y'all make sure your red light is on your microphone.
They heard from Gary.
No, he's not gonna be here.
Not gonna be here.
He is out of town.
So Bill will ask for that. That might be-
Bill's not gonna be here either, I don't think. I think he's on a fishing trip, so he will not be here.
We still got about 30 seconds in.
Yep.
Clock right this time, Chris?
That's pretty much right.
Does anybody need an agenda?
Thank you.
Tommy, do one?
I have one thank you.
Rushed out.
Only one. Okay. You need the other part. I didn't make but one, so good.
Do you need this one?
Got one.
Okay.
I want extra, please. Okay, it is exactly 6:15. We'll call this meeting to order. Has everybody taken a chance to look over our minutes from our July 25th meeting? If so, do I hear a motion?
I have one thing. I just wanted to make sure, so the consensus on the facade grant was that we were going to, if a building was not already painted, it wouldn't be painted, and then the consensus was that it would be a brick color if they were going to paint it. Is that?
Yes, and we were
Okay.
going to have a palette that they could choose from.
Okay, a palette, okay. I just wanted to make sure about that. And on, the only other thing was, I don't remember, I remember being said, I don't remember suggesting $1,000, but forego the tent and radio advertisement. I think that was,
Somebody said it,
I think that was
Bill,
Bill,
I
I
think.
think it was.
I think it was, they didn't have $1,000 sponsorship, but we wanted to give them $1,000 and just see what they would give us for that.
Maybe not get a tent, right?
And that we didn't really need a tent.
We didn't
so-
need a tent.
Right,
We didn't need a tent.
Or the T-shirts, I think. There was a couple of things we said we didn't need.
yeah. But we are doing the radio, we're just not doing the tent.
If they would do the radio
Right.
for us, yes.
Right.
Sponsorship.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
No, that's fine, so.
Yeah.
That's Taylor,
Yeah, I think Bill Taylor
I
said that.
think it was Bill.
forego the tent.
And go with the radio advertisement, right?
Right.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes.
All right, got a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
All right, motion and a second by Charlene. All in favor? All right, moving on down. Financial report. This is Mr. Carls.
Yeah, just since last time, we have opened the account at UCB for the tourism. And we went down there and did that a couple weeks ago. Deposited that first check that we got from the city, and then we got another check from the city. So far we've deposited $24,981 into it. And then we've paid the $66.50 down payment to R&R for the website. paid $22.65 for the checks that we had to purchase and $7.90 to send 2 people to the Governor's Tourism Conference, both things that we had approved at the last meeting. So right now, we've got the bank account sitting at $17,518.61.
Question, have we got an invoice from the rodeo? I know it's this weekend.
He just handed that to me.
Okay.
Yeah, they gave it to us today.
Okay.
Yep. So I do have that invoice for $500 for the rodeo to pay to them.
Anything else on the financials? If not, we'll move on down to number 4, Downtown Development, Welcome Center Retail Development.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, you'll remember 2 meetings ago, the DDA asked me to bring back 3 recommendations for architects to move forward with the retail welcome center project. At the last meeting, the members of the DDA asked for some time to call those 3 selections individually, kind of get a feel for their skill set and how well they will fit with the project. And so now it's back on the agenda for consideration for the DDA.
Well, I didn't call anyone because I don't feel qualified. I wouldn't even know what to ask.
I wouldn't either.
I think it was Bill Taylor's the one that wanted a chance to talk to him.
Okay.
Do you know anything about any of those folks, Chris?
Well, I did meet individually with all 3 of them. We did go look at the project, the Butterballs building. They did get a chance to look at it. I sent you all the information basically about their background and all of that so that you can go and look at some of the projects that they worked on. I mean, they're all licensed. They're all have credentials. I mean, I don't think that you could go wrong picking either one of the 3. So they have a pretty good resume.
Then why would we not pick the local architect, the one that lives
Well-
here in Villarica?
That's up to the preference of the DDA. I'm not making a recommendation. I just brought you 3. Now, all of them are local in the sense that they're either in Douglasville or in Villarica. So
Which one is from Billerica?
Rickman.
Rickman, yeah.
Rickman.
He's local. He's actually a client of mine, and I checked with Stacy to make sure there was no conflict there. And according to the bylaws, the amount of money that he pays me is not nearly enough to conflict me out. So I wish it was, but it's not. But I know him personally and seen some of the things he's done, and I know he has a passion for this type of project too. So I would highly recommend him.
Was that a motion from you?
I have a motion to approve Mike Rickman as the architect.
Second?
All right, motion and a second. All in favor? All right, moving on. Oh, that's still yours, isn't it, Chris?
Yes, sir. That the other thing, I've been working with Trey out of Stacy's office, with coming up with the final version of the bylaws for the Villarica Convention and Visitors Bureau. This is the document that will govern basically the operations of the entity that we formed. And so this is just for you all to look over. I don't know if we necessarily have to vote on it today if you need more time to look at it, but we wanted you all to get, get your eyes on it, get looking at it, and offer any feedback, suggestions, recommendations, or questions.
So as I understand what I've read, that the board of directors will be the DDA membership.
That's correct.
All right. And then we also have the opportunity to have a secretary that's not a member.
That's correct, which,
Okay. And has she been approached and willing to do that?
well, I think just by default, because both of the meetings kind of, they kind of coincide with one another. I don't know that we would have separate meetings
Okay. Well,
per
that's
se.
another thing, because they'll be held at such a time and place as determined by the board
Yeah.
of directors.
So we'll have them at the same meeting as ours then?
Well, it's whatever we
Yeah.
determine
Yeah.
to be. I mean, I don't think anyone wants another meeting.
No.
Right.
And then I went through quorum, so we have 7 directors, so quorum means 4. I'm on page 5. I'll determine the secretary of the corporation. So that, okay, I found that answer. That was over on page 7. I was wondering how the secretary of the corporation was determined, who that was going to be, but I found that answer. Now, it says that on section 612, on the committees, so there'll be standing or temporary committees, and we're going to have the executive committee and a tourism advisory committee. And it says the chairperson of the corporation will appoint the members of each. Is that just a temporary committee? Committee appointments can also include individuals who are not members. And the chairperson is not necessarily the chairperson of the DDA, because that's going to be determined. It says each temporary committee, and then we've got executive committee as a standing committee, and the tourism is a standing committee. We don't have any temporary committees at this time. But that, I mean, I don't know if anyone wants to, as a chairperson, have that responsibility. Maybe so, I don't know.
I think it's pretty standard
Is it?
procedure for temporary committees for the president or the chair to appoint.
Okay.
It's like that for the Main Street Board. So it just, usually it's, you put a committee together for an event or a specific function, and then once that's done, that committee pretty much goes away. So it's pretty standard. It's usually not anything that's earth-shattering that committee would do.
Okay, so the executive committee comes from the DDA.
Yeah, well, your executive committee is going to already be set by whoever's holding these offices. So, your chair, your vice chair, your secretary, your treasurer, those are people that are going to be elected that would just automatically make up the executive committee.
Okay, but they are on the DDA already. The executive committee is are
Right.
members from the DDA.
Right.
Okay. And then then the tourism committee is going to be appointed by the board of directors, which is us.
Correct.
On that. And then we have these guidelines where they're going to come from. We have this oath, each director, which is us, takes that. Okay. On page 7, under 7.01, says such other officers and assistant officers as may be deemed necessary may be elected or appointed. So we just get to choose? I mean, I don't understand the "or" in there. I mean, we can just do what we want? I don't understand.
Just, it just gives you flexibility if
Okay.
you ever want to appoint some other officers
Okay.
down the road, so.
But if we were going to make an appointment, it seems like we'd have to elect them to make the appointment. I don't know.
I think
It just
that's-
seemed weird to me.
You know, they mean essentially the same thing.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then under 7.03, removal, we just have with or without cause. I would like to see an attendance requirement, and the only reason I say that is because I have served on boards that have been crippled because we couldn't get enough people to attend.
Well, I think the thing you have to keep in mind is it's very strict on the removal of a member from DDA, and just by default that the DDA director is also the director of the tourism. They're kind of, in that respect, because there's only certain reasons why you can remove a member from the authority.
Where do you read that? Because I've read the bylaws and I don't see that. Is that in state law? In the state law? Because our bylaws have this same thing for the DDA. So are you
Can
talking
we
about
be
state
moved
law?
without cause?
Yeah. So does the state law have higher requirements?
I would defer to the attorney on that. I think it is.
Okay.
And this might be a great opportunity for us to go back and visit the DDA bylaws and see that any of them aren't in conflict, because the state law for development authorities has changed a little bit recently. So we might want to see if in fact we need to update the bylaws for the DDA as well.
I don't remember seeing an attendance requirement in the statute, but I'll check this and get back.
Okay. But does that make sense to anyone else, having an attendance requirement? I mean, because if you can't get a quorum to your meetings, you're crippled.
Right.
Can't do anything. And,
So you want us to look into the attendance?
yes,
Okay.
requirement for that, as a possible reason for removal.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then on the vacancy, it says that the vacancy shall be filled by a board of directors, but the vacancy will be a board of directors, and we can't fill our own board of directors. We have to do, the city council has to fill,
Right.
ours, the DDA.
The way we're proposing that it be set up is that going forward, it would be a self-appointing board that y'all would, really, whoever's a DDA director, you're right.
Yeah.
If they're a DDA director, it's automatic.
Right, so we can appoint a new tourism.
Terrorism.
That's true. That's
We don't want to appoint those.
Yeah. And this, again, was just something that just kind of didn't make sense. On 7.05, the chairperson shall be the principal elected officer of the corporation and subject to the control of the board of directors. We are the board of directors, so it just seems like, but it just may be common verbiage. And on page 9, 7.09, talking about the board of directors shall have the power to hire a director to manage day-to-day activities, and it requires a 2/3 vote. So doing the math, 7 directors, so that means 5 votes. I mean, it comes out to some weird partial person thing, but I'm assuming that's what that means.
66.67.
Okay, I think everything else. I just had a question for Stacy. On page 12, it said the corporation's initial board of directors shall adopt a conflict of interest policy no later, but so is the state conflict not good enough for the federal government? I'm assuming that's why that's in there.
Yeah, well, we could adopt the state policy. This is if they've got the state statute, we can just say applies.
Okay, because, well, it says we shall adhere to it,
Right.
but then it has the other that we should adopt another one. And I mean, if we don't need to, I don't want us to just spend time jumping through needless hoops.
Okay, yeah, we can just be bound by the state statutes.
Stacey, we probably need to get you a microphone.
Okay. Sorry, I was thinking we'd have more people, so I
Yeah.
can move if you want to.
Yeah, probably, since they're asking a bunch of questions that, they're hearing questions but no answers out there. Right, yeah, that's right.
I guess I did have another question about the insurance. And my last question refers on page 15 to the insurance. It says may, we can or cannot do that. I mean, how needed is that?
The D&O insurance, I think you want to get that. We just renewed our policy for the DDA, so we should probably look into getting coverage for the tourism entity in that capacity as well, because you're going to want D&O coverage.
Okay.
So I'll check into that. I'll go with our agent.
All right, that's all I have on.
Great. Thank you for looking at that. I appreciate it.
All right, anybody else? Well, I think that, and Stacy, you can chime in. I think we'd be fine with putting this on the agenda for next month and then allowing them to vote on it at that
That's
time.
great. The only thing, I guess, is the attendance requirement. So we'll send you an email and maybe some sample language for you to look at.
All right, moving on down to number 5, is that right, Chris? You through?
Yes, sir. Well, we did 5A. 5B is just wanted to let everybody know that the R&R kickoff is Tuesday, October the 30th. I know that we had some conflict. It was just no way for me to get everybody there. I gave like 5 dates and everybody had an issue, so I just kind of picked one with the least conflict. It's 11 to 1. It is basically it's where they will talk to us about the process. When I sent the email, it is very much similar to how we did the RSVP with the master planning. So they're basically kind of getting a feel for what it is that we expect from them, and then they will kind of go through the process of how it will work and what will be the end product once we've get everything plugged in. And so it's just having all the stakeholders at the table for that meeting to kick off the process.
So you're reaching out to possible appointees from these different.
Yeah, the director of the Pine Mountain Museum would be there. Reached out to 3 or 4 GMs at the hotels and conference centers. So we sent out to everyone that's on that list there.
So may we forward the email to people we think might be interested?
Yep, that'll be fine. Yep.
Okay.
If you know some people that you think, have a vested interest or would have some input, yeah, definitely invite them. And also, you all got some homework that I noticed only one person's turned in. I won't say who that was. But that feedback is important as well for us to give to them, because they'll use that to kind of help drive some of the dialogue on the meeting as well. I think I gave y'all a deadline of Wednesday on that.
Is that all on B, Chris?
Sir?
All right, go down to C then.
Yes. It's interesting. It doesn't take long for folk to find out who's in charge of the money. And so, of course, everybody has been calling. Of course, since the beginning, everybody's been calling us. But these 2 publications, I think, are pretty important for us. And I brought some samples. This is the Carroll County and then the Douglas County Chamber. Both of the chambers do the community guide. They either do it on an annual or a biannual basis. I think it's good for us to participate in the sense that it is for a year. There'll be some advertisement that we'll spend $2,000-$3,000 on, and it'll only be a month. So for us to be able to get into a publication and have it be viable for a year, I think is a plus for us. I also, especially in the Douglasville, the Douglas County one, there's going to be a more significant Villa Rica piece in that, which I think is good for us. And so this will kind of help drive the content that we get included in that publication as well. When I talk to the representatives from the chamber, we're going to get about 25% of that publication will be dedicated just to Villa Rica, which is really good considering we're kind of just footnotes in it now. So that will kind of help us reach out in a regional footprint, but it will be, I think the Carroll County may be annually, but I know the Douglas County is 2 years, so it'll be 24 months that we'll get for that price.
So we're getting some exposure without paying any money right now in the.
Well, there will be editorial pieces about Villa Rica, but then what we're doing is we're putting an ad in
Right.
there in addition to the editorial piece.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think, just from my limited knowledge of Douglas County's reach into the metro area versus Carroll County's reach into the metro area, Douglas County has a much more significant reach. I'm not sure why, but I think
Well,
that's
technically,
important.
it's a metro county. Carroll
Maybe-
County is not.
Maybe that's why they do. But, I think we're missing out a lot on just day trippers from the city, and that is a huge market just down the road from us to come just for a day trip, bring the kids to the museum or come to the mill for something, or just to, oh, I remember when I grew up in a small town kind of thing, So I definitely think we need to do something in Douglas. More so, I think we need to do something in both, but more so in the Douglas County one.
So just need a motion from the tourism.
Well, yeah, anything over $1,500, we get the DDA to approve, or the tourism board to approve. So if this is, you know, these are just recommendations. I gave you the whole proposal on both of them, so you could see the pricing on both. I think the full page, I recommended the full page because it is for the year, and we do get the bang for the bucks, I think, for that. But we definitely could scale it down if that's the desire of the,
If you look at the current year's one too, the full page comes right where they're talking about Villa Rica.
Yeah.
And so I think it worked really well with that. I noticed that Bowden had a full page in the Carroll County, and Carrollton had a full page, and it seemed to make sense to me to do the full page in both of them.
Now, what about the online options? You did make a recommendation for those.
right. Well, that's where the negotiating comes in, so.
Okay.
It may be that we spend less than what we're proposing, because there'll be a time where I'll sit down with them and be like, this is what we want to do, and this is about how much money we want to spend. So there'll be some negotiating to happen. Once I get a base number, generally I like to try to save money or get more for than what we're paying for.
So you're requesting this amount of money, but that's not necessarily what you will spend. That'll just be
It could
what
be
you
less. It could be less, but I'm not going to say it's going to be less. It could be that much money, but then we get more than what this says that we'll get. So like, you know, I'll sit down with the folks at the chamber and say, you know, we've committed to $2,700, but what kind of added value can we get? You have to remember I was in advertising sales before I got into this business. So, you know, I always look for added value. And there's things that they could give us in addition to what we're paying for. It's called added value. So it could be we still spend that, but we get more than what the $2,700 says we should get.
So did the previous tourism board do these full page ads? Do you have any idea?
I think we have a full page ad in the Carroll. I don't think we've done anything traditionally in the Douglas County.
All right. Fine.
I know we have a full page ad in the Carroll County one. I didn't look at the
Carroll
Douglas
County,
County.
have. There's one, a full page ad in there. Douglasville.
Yep. And I remember when I opened my business, someone from the chamber came by and gave me a bag, and it had that guide in it, and I looked through it, and so they do the same thing with all the businesses.
Now this 1175 design cost, when we get an ad for this 2795, are they going to design the page? Are we going to design the page? Is there going to be an initiative?
We'll probably give them a photo-ready image. In other words, we'll give them something that we designed, so it'll be the same consistent branding across. It's probably going to be one of the first projects we get R&R to do for us. And so since we're already paying them, they would just do it. And then we would use that same ad across the board for all of them. To keep the imaging and branding the same.
September 9th is the deadline, if I remember right.
Right, I've already discussed that with
Okay.
them
Okay.
to let them know that we're not going to be able to make that deadline.
Okay.
So they're aware of it.
Okay.
So we won't be paying any design cost.
No. We'll do the ads in-house.
Now, when you were talking about electronic or other types of media advertising, would we not be getting that through R&R and not needed here? Or are you just talking about a web page for the Carroll County Chamber and the Douglas County Chamber?
Well, these would be on the platforms that they own for their business. So it would be in addition to what we would be getting from R&R. Now, R&R is they're not doing any advertising for us. They're creating the content that we use to then turn around and advertise, and then they're creating the website for us.
So if Chris is able to get, with that money, some online presence, it would be, I'm assuming, like a click to our website.
Right.
So it'd be easy. Someone's looking at the Carroll County or Douglas County website, and then there's something for Villa Rica, click, go and get more complete information.
Okay.
So Chris, I guess you're waiting on a motion then.
Yep, whatever the will of the
I make a motion that we approve the full page ad in the Carroll County and the Douglas County Guide.
I second that.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Anything else on advertising?
No, sir, that's it for today on that.
All right, we'll go down to old business. No old business. We got any new business?
Mr. Chairman, I have a few things under new business real quick. I just wanted to let the DDA know that we did hire an assistant. The official title is Main Street and Tourism Coordinator, Sharon DuPont. She will be coming on board on the 29th. As you know, operating 3 entities is a pretty big undertaking for just one person, so I'm excited to get a little bit of help. Carl represented the DDA on the interview panel, and then we had Kelly Bell from the Main Street participate with that. One thing, on another new item, I just wanted to pass these around. I wanted to keep you all in the loop about the work that we're doing as far as, they're all the same, as far as progressing the master plan for downtown. In addition to getting the ball moving on the Welcome Center retail facility, we've also been working on some other projects as well. So there's a lot of pieces to the master plan, and the master plan just gave us concepts, but there was no concrete designs to those things. There's no cost associated with these projects. So now my job is to get pricing so that we can either know how much money we need to go find or how much money we need to raise to make these projects come to fruition. So I've been working with Signworks to come up with some designs for the gateway. As you will recall, they had some recommendations on gateway signage in the RSVP. We basically took those recommendations and had SignPro actually develop what are the dimensions of that sign, what is the material that sign is going to be made out of, and how much is that sign going to cost us to manufacture and install. The same thing with directional signs, and we also did a parking sign. We hope that will help kind of point people where our parking lots are, to kind of cut down on some of the confusion about parking in downtown. And then directional kiosks as well. That will be 3 or 4 of them stationed throughout downtown that will point people in the direction of where some of our retail facilities are and some of our other amenities. If you will notice, we kind of kept that rustic theme that's kind of been what we've built the master plan on for Villa Rica. Villa Rica it's never been very Victorian, if you will. It's always been kind of an industrial, rustic look. So we've kind of maintained that same theme throughout the signage for this project. My goal is, and of course, the city manager listening, this will be news for him, is to put in a capital request to the city council for this project. If it makes it through the budget process, that'd be wonderful. If not, we'll try some other types of funding mechanisms for it. But that's my first initial thought, is put this on the capital expenditure list for this year for the city.
When I was in a while back in Oakhurst, which is a little neighborhood in Decatur, and they have a sign that says, I took a picture of it, says walk there, and it says Agnes Scott College, walk time 17 minutes, and it goes all the way down on there. And I would like to see.
Well, that's what's going to be on the kiosk.
On the kiosk, okay.
It'll be walk time and steps, so it'll be
right,
like
yeah.
50 steps to
Yeah.
Uncorked, or from this
I
point.
kind of like the
so,
step
yeah.
thing. That's something that they had, the RSVP people had
Yeah,
suggested.
so,
I like
yeah,
that.
we're going to incorporate that in the
Okay.
kiosk sign.
Great.
Because as we tell people, we don't really have a parking problem in Villa Rica, we have a walking problem. So
Right.
hopefully, some of these things will help to address some of that.
Everything I read, it says the millennials and the seniors all want walkable communities.
Right.
Everything I read says that.
Yep. And so I just wanted to keep y'all updated on that. If you have any questions or anything, can always email me. And the final thing, they brought rodeo tickets by. I figured that if you all wanted them, they were part of the sponsorship package. They gave us 8, so I'll let you all.
I'm in Alaska, so.
Oh, all right. Well, that's one down. But if you wanted to, if anybody wants them, they're here available for you, and that's.
And don't let them go to waste. Give them to a
Yeah,
neighbor.
give them to somebody if you're not going to use them.
That hasn't ever been to a rodeo or something.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I think Clint said for the money we paid, he give us a little extra on the advertisement since it was our first year.
Yeah, we did put the, because we weren't ready with a logo or anything, we just used the space to promote the Gold Rush Festival.
Main Street.
If you've seen the flyer, you'll see it, the little Gold Rush Festival, and it has the date on there. I thought that was probably better than putting a logo on there so we can advertise the Gold Rush Festival.
That all on new business, Chris?
That's all I got.
I don't guess we got any public comment. Okay, number 9, items for future agenda. We've got 1 or 2 already, right? Tourism contract would be 1, is that right?
The bylaws.
Anything else? All right. I don't think we've got anything for executive, do we?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, the last thing is adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move that we adjourn.
Second. All in favor? And Tracy, you get to go home quick tonight.
You should have seen how she looked at the clock.
Yeah, can't believe it. Can't believe it, can you?
That's what this thing.